So, let's kick off. When you look back at like when you got started, like going through school, going through everything, did you think you'd ever be in Bali? No.
No, never. I I'd never travelled until I was 30. So
30.
yeah. So growing up like 3 hours west of Melbourne, it was like going to Melbourne was a massive trip just to go there because it was a 3.5 hour drive type of thing. And it yeah, I don't know. It just never really occurred to me. Like it was kind of just Groundhog Day a lot of the time.
So it happens, right? And I think that's why it's going to be very helpful for your podcast, like the first episode of your podcast, introduce yourself, introduce what you're doing, what you want to achieve, what you want to show people with, because I think most people never get to see that in the person. Even if you start a YouTube channel, like most people don't see where you started and also where you want to get to. So I think that would be a good basis for just today, and also would be super helpful for people to understand like you at a deeper level.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I grew up, like I just said, 3 hours west of Melbourne. It was, very country. There was only 2 schools, had heaps of friends and stuff like that. Absolutely loved it. First job was work, like when I think I was 12 years old, I started washing golf carts, just because my dad was the captain of the golf club there, and that kind of just where I kicked off. And then went into McDonald's and then did a couple of apprenticeships and stuff like that, like all the classic stuff, you know what I mean? And then
What did you think you learned from those experiences? Like when you got started, when you were working those jobs, like what did that teach you?
I think McDonald's was actually like 100% the best job I've ever had. Like I'd nearly go back and work there today. Like I loved it so much.
Why?
Just the people that I met, how everyone was just so different, and most of the people realistically were there because their mum and dad told them they needed to get a job, and McDonald's is the only place a 14-year-old can kind of get one and get moving. But just the progression that they had of, like, you started as a crew member and then you could become a crew trainer, and there was like a lot of progression, a lot of steps you could take, and I don't know.
Have you ever read the EMIT?
No, I haven't.
So the whole logic is that the best businesses are built like McDonald's, like that everything has a function, every role has a specific function, every person has one thing that they do. And therefore, that's how you should like build your business, build your podcast, build your content. It works almost like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And that's why they can ensure that a Big Mac in buttfuck nowhere of Australia tastes exact same as one in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like they just both taste the exact same. So it's interesting that you observe that, because most people would never think that.
Yeah. And like, I'm pretty sure, because I ended up going up and up the ranks type of thing, and worked on and off at McDonald's for years, until I was like, maybe 25 or something like that. So to be able to see or go through the progression, and then it was really interesting to see, like you were just saying, then there's like 20 different positions at McDonald's, and in the sense of like, you can be the person who makes the burger, you can be the person who flips the burgers, or you can be the person who hands the stuff out the window or collects the food and stuff. Like everything has that specific role. And I think it was really, really interesting to like go through that, because I wanted to learn every single one, and I think that's kind of what kept me there, because there was so much variety.
True. And I think for you as well, that kind of gives you a good baseline as to like the other things that you could do, because like at the end of the day, when you're young and you're dumb, you don't know what to do. If you're curious, that'll make you kind of stand out.
Yeah.
So you were already standing out by just being curious.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where a lot of it started. And it was probably also one of the reasons why I ended up having a lot of jobs throughout the years. Like, because every couple of years I would, I'd start a new job somewhere. I would work for 12 months or 18 months, 2 years, whatever it was. I'd get as much information as I could. And then when it started to like stagnate or plateau, I just I don't know, I just lost interest. I was just like, oh, this is boring now. Like if there wasn't enough information for me to soak up type of thing, I'd just be like, okay, what's next? I need to learn something new, and just kept going through. Like I think by the time I was like 25, I'd probably had like maybe 7 or 8 jobs, maybe even more. Like I'm not going to list them all, but
What did you want to do? Like what did you want to achieve? What was it unique that you wanted to do?
I had absolutely zero idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, because I was always in school. I struggled, be it with bullying or learning or just like any facet of school I almost hated type of thing. So I didn't want to go to university or anything. And my dad was like, get a trade, do the trade, become a tradesman. That's basically what everyone does in Australia type of thing. Like, why not just do that? There's nothing wrong with it. I actually did a boiler making apprenticeship, which is a welder. And I did that for 12 months every Wednesday. Instead of going to school, I'd go to the workplace, and then they didn't have a job for me at the start of the next year. So I ended up going and being a diesel mechanic. And that was only because it was in the school newsletter that that I went and got that job, and that was working on John Deere tractors. So I basically just went and did that. I didn't really, it was just kind of something to do more than a passion.
Yeah, man.
So yeah.
It's tough, right? Because like if you're growing up in like the outback of Australia or where I'm from in Ireland, you don't know the opportunities that are in front of you.
Yeah.
So like you don't know that you can have like a better life, and there's nothing wrong with that life if you choose that path. But when did you start seeing like, okay, this wasn't necessarily for me, I want to do something different? Like, was there some sort of like internal driver to say, okay, I want to do something new?
Not necessarily. It was more, I was just kind of stuck in the motions and stuff like that. And, just again, not being sure, I was better off just always having a job. So I always had a job, but I just never really liked it and stuff like that. So in the end, it was just like Friday, Saturday night, going to the pub all the time with the boys, and that kind of one thing led to another. And then there was like alcohol, substance abuse and stuff like that, because in a small town, there's not really too much else to do. And then that kind of got bad. And one of my best friends actually just called me up out of the blue one day, and he was just like, what the fuck's going on? And I just he was been my best friend since we were 5. So I was just kind of like, oh, I'll just let it all out. And I told him everything that was happening with me, other friends, like all that type of stuff. And I think 2 days later, after we've had that phone call, he called me back, and he was like, Sam, you need to quit your job. You need to move to Hamilton, which was an hour away. And he's like, I've got your job and you can live with me in my house.
What happened in that conversation?
The one prior was, I think he was just concerned, and he had been for a long time, just about like substance abuse and not going anywhere and not really reaching for the stars type of thing. I feel like he knew my potential more than I did, or he believed in me more than I did at the time. And he's just a good mate, and he just didn't want to see me fall too far, I don't think. So he lent the hand out and just kind of pulled me back up and said, I think you need to do this.
How many people do you think that actually they're in that scenario? So they're like living in a buttfuck nowhere, they're taking drugs, they're drinking. Like, how much of a problem do you think that is, especially for guys, that people don't even realize because they're in it?
Yeah, I think it's such a huge thing. Maybe not so much since COVID, maybe, or the newer generation and stuff like that, because there was that kind of boom on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that, where everyone's like a hustler and stuff like that. So, everyone's going to the gym and trying to do stuff. But
I think that's what you see, though. Do you get me? Because you're on that path.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I think if you were to go back and just walk down the street and speak to your old friends, a lot of people haven't changed, right? And as in the internal driver isn't there, and they're stuck in a habitual loop, which needs to be broken.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who's given up alcohol 3 years ago, right? Like I know firsthand how destructive that is and how much you masquerade it and say it's not a problem.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a lot of the people that I know from home, like back in country Victoria, a lot of people haven't left. And there's probably a lot of people that haven't really travelled much either, I don't think, for the reasons that I was saying before about it's, so far away. But yeah, I don't know. I remember after that phone call conversation, and I literally quit my job the next day and handed in resignation and left type of thing. Like within 2 weeks, I was gone and moved. And then I think 18 months after that, I'd moved on again. And then like the amount of eye-opening experiences that I had and just meeting new friends and new different people from a different part of the world, essentially. Like,
you don't know what you don't know, and you only know what's within your front sphere.
Yeah.
And that'll always be the same, right? Like we don't know what like Argentina's like because we're not in Argentina, right? Like you can't make those assumptions. And I often find that people, when they make those assumptions, they're making a negative association with it. Like, I don't need to go to fucking Argentina.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like a negative association with it. But I completely agree with you. Like, there's that element of, like, you kind of need to break that trend. And it's not looking down on other people. It's about, like, showing people that there is almost like a better way. How would you advise someone to do that, right? So someone who's young, probably out of shape, unfulfilled, bored, how should they break out of that cycle? Because like even touching on your story, like how you did it specifically.
Well, kind of luckily enough for me, like I said, the thing that broke the chain for me was my friend who had already done it. So maybe look around at your circle or look outside of your circle to someone that you know that might have already done it. And even just reach out, because you'd be surprised that sometimes you reach out and speak to people and they're more than happy to have a chat about anything like that. But either, have a look around, see if someone's done it. And if they haven't done it, maybe you should think about being the first one to try and break the chain. Because I know there's so many people that just do the same thing day in, day out. Don't leave, and a holiday is a trip to a caravan park or stuff like that for a week, and then you go back and just keep doing the same thing over and over again. It was
that's insanity, right?
Yeah,
just doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah, doing the same thing just day in, day out. And I don't know, for me, after I kind of realised that there was so much more out there, I was just like, oh, okay, I need to keep going, need to find that change. Or if I got stagnant somewhere, I either changed jobs because I wasn't fulfilled, or like after I'd move an hour away from my hometown, I then moved 2 hours away further again. And then I spent a few years there, and I just kept changing and kept moving because I never really felt like, not necessarily I didn't feel like I didn't belong, but there was always just kind of just something missing. Like I was always hungry for more or wanted
Explain
more.
that a bit more. So like what was missing?
And that's still the thing. I'm not 100% sure what's missing, but I feel like it takes some guts to just get up and go and be able to do things by yourself, or just go after whatever you want, or if you don't know what you want, doing things to try and get there, like just taking that next step, whatever it may be. So
it's a really good point, man, because I think it's exposure therapy. The only way that you can learn, do you like podcasting, do you like content, do you like building, is by just doing it. It's not about reading about it, it's not about talking about it, it's about just fucking doing it. Yeah,
exactly. I struggle so much with like analysis paralysis, essentially, which is like I'll get an idea and then I'll write it down, and then I'll do the research, and then I'll see something that could maybe be like, oh, I'm not sure if I like that type of thing. And I'm like, I'm taking all these steps, like these imaginary steps, but I haven't even taken the first one towards...
Which is doing it.
Which is, doing it, like just crossing that line type of thing. Like,
but you have, though. Now you've done that.
now I have, but I didn't for a long time.
What was the biggest driver for you doing that?
There was just a few situations in my life that I felt like I just still wasn't fulfilled with something. And then I've got a few really, really good friends that I talk a lot about all my personal stuff with, and vice versa. And one of my best mates said to me, he's just like, why don't you just pick up and go to Bali and just full on reset? And I was just like, what do you mean? And he was just like, well, you don't have anything to do at the moment. Just go for a holiday to Bali for a couple of months and just try and figure yourself out. And I ended up coming to Bali in the middle of last year and just absolutely loving it. And I didn't really do anything those 2 months here. I kind of just had a reset. I just didn't do too much. I met new people. I tried networking, and I was just trying to find things that I like to do and people who I like to be around. And you know, the old saying, what is it? Oh gosh, it's gone from me now. But like, what's that one? Birds of the feather fly together, or sleep with dogs and you'll get fleas type of scenario. You don't know what I mean. But the one that I'm trying to think of is you're the product of the 5 people you're hanging around with.
Yeah.
So
that's why Bali's the best place in the world.
Yeah,
for,
so
you know?
good. I was.
You have people at all different stages in their journey. You have ballers. You have people that are just getting started. You have people in between. You have people that are balancing health, relationships, and then you have people that are really crushing in the wealth space.
Yeah,
right?
And all these people are super normal people, and half the time you don't even know that.
Dude, that's the biggest thing, right? Is that you realize that people that are ahead of you in this like randomized game, they're the people that want to help you the most.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get me? Like, we're here chatting today. I've done 270 podcasts. I was like, yeah, fucking, I'd love to interview you.
Yeah.
I'd love to have like that as your first interview, versus someone who's like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And that comes from like a position of fear or like anxiety. And there's nothing against that person. It's just the fact that that's from a different position. Whereas Bali gives you that space to give you space. Yeah. Right. And then just figure out what it is you want to do and also what you struggle with.
Yeah, exactly. I think the reason why I kind of leaned towards getting into the podcast space was because I've always been a talker. Be it at school getting in trouble, or when I was working at McDonald's and teaching people how to do things, and if they didn't understand me, explaining it in a different way so that they could, and just like all these other different like facets of communication, be it sales or working at a bar or just anything like that.
Dude, it's the best skill in the world.
Yeah.
It's literally the best skill in the world. And what you'll find is with podcasting and with speaking is that it will elevate nearly everything else. Like one, like your confidence, one, your speaking ability, your thought process, how you write, how you clearly articulate your thoughts, and also what you enjoy, because you got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do it. So I got to sit down with Sam. Or I want to sit down with Sam. I don't have to. And we talk about this in detail because I want to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a huge perspective shift because it's the only time in your life where no one's telling you you should do something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so it's really eye-opening as well that like the amount of people that I've spoken to just since being in Bali and saying that, you know, I've got this in the works. Like after I joined Voix, I was just like, okay, I'm doing it.
You're in.
Now, like I'm really doing it. And then that's when I was like, okay, well now I'm going to go out and try and find some guests for my podcast of people who have interesting stories. And the amount of people that I've spoken to, like, you know, this is my first ever podcast type of thing. I think I've already got like 10 or 12 people lined up.
Man, that's amazing.
That I can message, and it's just...
So what's the message you want to give people with your podcast?
The message that I would really love for everyone to take away is that I really, really struggled for many years, I think, going through school and kind of feeling like I was maybe at the bottom end of my some of my friends groups and stuff like that, then going into jobs and not knowing what I was doing and or not knowing where I wanted to go when I was getting those jobs. I just want to let everyone know that it's completely okay to not know what you want to do, and you don't have to necessarily have a direction or anything like that. It might come to you when you're 45, or it might come to you when you're 17, or you might want to be an astronaut at 3 years old and follow through with that type of thing. Like it's different for everyone. So I want everyone to kind of take away that, yeah, it's completely fine. And I want to be able to give people ideas, different perspectives on different things, because I could be talking to you about podcasting and someone might not know little from column A, little from column B, and then they go, oh, actually, I am a good communicator, and you know, I like filming stuff, all that type of stuff. So.
And we said that as well about like the mastermind at the weekend, which is you're just going to get so much value from just absorption. You know, you don't need to come with like aesthetic questions and all this shit. You just sit there and you like learn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
But it's that, I think that's the power of like community. That's the power of content. That's the power of like spoken language. Is I could say something passing to you and you're like, oh, I might want to run with that.
Yeah.
Right. And like that's the opportunity. It's not specific like you should do this. It's more exposure therapy. It's more information. And just because now at the point you're able to kind of disseminate between like what's valuable to you for your podcast and what's not valuable, because you've already started, dude.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of kind of closure on that as well, as I think that, you know, something that really helped me in my journey, like as an entrepreneur, as a podcaster, as like a creator, was if you already start, you're 99% ahead of everyone in the world. And if you just keep going, you're 99.9% ahead. And then another kind of little nice baseline is you have to realize that everyone you interview is a beginner at 99.9% of things in the world, but they're a master at their small little art. And it just gives you a lot of closure to be like, okay, yeah, no one has this shit figured out.
Yeah, exactly. It's super nice. And just on, not having your shit figured out, like I went through a lot of stuff like mental health wise as well. And that's another thing I want to get across to people, to let them know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
What was that like?
Essentially? Well, I was in the Australian Navy. I was an electrician, and it basically was a little bit different to what I expected it to be. But in saying that, I loved it at the same time. But I got injured playing football, Australian rules football, in the Navy, and it kind of like... what's the best way to describe it? Basically, I got removed from my class. I ended up getting removed from my class, basically stopped working from time to time because I needed to go get surgeries on my wrist and my ankle that happened months apart and whatever. But the real crux of it for me, I suppose, was I was just on this gradual decline for maybe 2 years. And after, my injuries playing football and stuff like that, I was just kept going on this gradual decline. And I had one teacher, his name was Mr. Cooper. He had me at the start of my Navy career. And then it was right at the end. It was literally, I think, the last or the second last course that I was doing to fully complete my training and stuff like that. And he just took me into the next room one day in class. I'm not sure. I was just having a bad day. I must have had a foul look on my face or something. I'm not sure. But he just took me into the room next door and he just sat me down. And he was just like, Sam, I just want you to know that I'm the mental health ambassador for the school, and I'm just going to ask you one thing. He's like, you can tell me to piss off if you want, but he was just super sincere, and it was just one little question. He was just like, "Are you okay?" And there was no one else in the room. It was just me and him. I was feeling really vulnerable. I was already having a shit day, and I just burst into tears. And I don't know. I don't know what had come over me. I didn't really cry or anything like that. I wasn't really a crier or anything. And yeah, just everything was overwhelming. And basically I stopped work on that day, and that was in like September 2021, I think it was.
What do you think was happening?
I think it was just a bit of a compounding effect of I was never really good at school, and then when I went to the Navy, I was kind of expecting to just like have a few months training and then, be out in the big wide world, learning the trade and all that type of stuff. And it ended up being 2 years front loaded schooling. So I really struggled with the going back to school and just went through COVID as well. That was pretty crazy because we had our own set of rules on top of the rules that were put in place by the Australian government and stuff like that. So that made it a little bit hard as well. And yeah, it was just kind of a bit of a combination of everything, I think, as well as when I went in, I wanted to finish my diesel mechanic apprenticeship, and they told me that I had to be an electrician. So on top of having to...
You're not picking your own path.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like it was...
Well, that's the reality, right? Is that if you don't have a plan, you'll be assigned a plan.
Yeah.
So you lost control.
Yeah,
basically.
basically.
Like when you lose control, that's when you spiral.
Yeah, and that's basically what happened. And in that kind of 2 years, or 18 months to 2 years, however long it was, I don't know. And I'd never really sat down with myself either and been like, am I okay? Is this what I want? Like anything like that. I didn't really look after myself. I was too busy, making sure everyone else was all right apart from me, I guess. So, yeah.
How many other people do you think are in that same position?
So many. So many. And not just people in the Navy or anything like that, like just anyone in general that's just, like we said before, doing the same thing day in, day out. Like some people love their lives and, go do stuff on the weekends and do whatever. But there's also some people, I think, that are just, stuck in the motions and don't really know how to get out.
How do you identify that you're in a rut and maybe borderline depressed from your current situation, like the way that you were? How do you, what do you do in that scenario? What's your action steps there?
Yeah, geez, that's a tough question because I didn't know myself either. Like I've been very, very fortunate that I've had like my friend who pulled me out of the gutter type of thing when I was 20, and then Mr. Cooper who took me aside and sincerely asked me if I was okay, and that's they were the pivotal turning points for me. But I kind of think like if you've ever experienced depression, anxiety, even insomnia, like anything like that, I think like if you think about the future and you get nervous or you get sweaty palms or something like that, more than likely there's a bit of anxiety around something there. And then if you look back on things and because I never finished my diesel mechanic apprenticeship, because I got injured in the Navy, I never finished my electrical apprenticeship. And there's been so many other things that I just didn't finish, and I always had that kind of little bit of doubt and a little bit of regret in my mind. So I'd always look back and be like, I never finished that, or I never did this, or I could have done that, and hindsight and all that type of stuff. If you ruminate and overthink, I think that's kind of tied to a lot of depressive thoughts. But yeah, basically just not living in the now. If you're not living in the now and you're too worried about what has happened or too scared about what is going to happen, I think that's pretty identifiable that yeah, there might be something going on that you need to get sorted out. But I think the biggest step is, again, taking that first action step of recognition and then going and seeing someone, going to your doctor or going to a psychologist, whoever, or even just talking to a family member or a friend or something about it.
What was your roadmap to get out of that difficult position?
I basically, that day that Mr. Cooper asked me if I was okay, he's like, you can head off if you want. But he's like, I would recommend that you go straight to CHC, which is the Cerberus Hospital. And he was like, you should probably go and see someone there. So literally just walked straight there and said, I need to see someone. This has just happened. Went in, spoke to someone straight away, just strike while the iron's hot type of thing. And since that day, I've basically had a psychologist appointment every week or other week, like 1 or 2 weeks since 2021, so like 4 years. And it only stopped when I come to Bali. So
You only stopped then?
yeah, just because my my psychologist, she can't practice overseas, so it's the only reason why I stopped. But I feel like a bit of sunshine and good weather kind of helps out a little bit.
Talk me through that. Like, so how beneficial is that help of a psychiatrist, psychologist, compared to like doing it yourself and kind of raw dogging it in Bali?
Yeah, the psychiatrist, psychologist, whoever it is, they're on your side and they don't know anyone else's perspective. All they know is how you feel and what you're feeling. So there's nothing influencing them, like, you know, a group of people over here saying, oh, Sam's this, Sam's that, or whatever. There's nothing. So they only get your perspective and then they just help you from your point of view, whether it be, I don't know, journaling or whatever, or just talking to you about it, or just listening even. I found that was just the biggest thing for me. I just needed to get all my stuff out. And because there's that stigma around being a man and, you know, not talking about your feelings and all that type of stuff. So it was really nice just to be able to talk to someone and not feel like I was being judged for any which reason. And I almost think every single person, whether you've got diagnosed anything, should have a psychologist.
Well, everyone needs a coach, right?
Yeah.
You know, Tiger Woods is a coach, LeBron is a coach. And dude, I've done my fair share of therapy over the years. It's been hugely helpful. I was very young, leading a very large team in a company, super stressed, super anxious. It was super helpful. And then later on, like many years later, got like hit with a ton of like PTSD from being a child, and went back to see a therapist again, and it was really helpful as well. It's just about what you do with information.
Yeah.
You know, it's really important there. One last question I have for you is about medication. Are you like pro medication? Are you against medication? Contextual? Like, what's your take?
I tried it for 3 months and hated it.
How did it make you feel?
Made me feel nothing, which was the issue. It just, cut kind of all the senses off almost. Like, you know, when I used to be really passionate about playing video games or whatever with the boys, get up and about if I, you know, died in a game or something like that. Went from, you know, probably being a little bit too angry, but went from having emotions and doing things to just nothing.
Extremes of both.
Yeah, just grey screen type of thing. Like just, yeah. So it works, but I'm an emotional person, I think. And most of the time you can kind of see it on my face, or you know how I'm feeling if I'm talking to you type of thing. And I kind of lost that, and it kind of, for me, it was a part of my identity type of thing. So I felt like I just lost a little part of myself, and then that's when I started on my like self-improvement journey. I guess.
Well, it's interesting, right? Instead of using medication, you work to manage your emotions so that you don't need it.
Yeah.
So like, yes, of course they work, but you took the next step, which was utilizing your own power
Yeah.
to be able to do it.
Yeah. I just recognized that, and it was late too. Like I did 3 months of them, and it was only like the second to last week or something like that it kind of just like struck me that I was like, nothing's happening up there. Like I wasn't having any like thoughts or like deep thoughts about anything either.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it was just crazy. Like, I'm not sure if it's because I'm a crazy overthinker and like, over emotional or something. I'm not sure, but it went from almost felt like 100 to 0, and just recognizing that was.
That's interesting, man. That could be something you could really help people with too, right? Because for the most part, people are just confused. They don't have access to information.
Yeah, exactly.
So like if you've gone through that experience, I'm not going to be advising people, but at least you can have your own experiences.
Yeah.
And I've said to you before, right, one of my close friends, Tim Stoddard, he was a heroin addict. And when he came off heroin, he started blogging. And he was just documenting, like, this is how I feel. This is what my day's been like, and so on. And then that blog became Sober Nation. And Sober Nation is like the biggest resource for people coming off of drugs in America right now. And he never once told people, like, don't take heroin. He just said, this is my experience, this is what I've been doing, and this is the value of it. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanna add?
No, I don't think so. We've covered a lot. So
yeah, man, this was fucking great.